borrow one from your neighbor and jot some of these ideas down. Otherwise, they will be they're pretty obvious. Anyway, let's begin with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord Jesus, we give you praise and thanks for all the wonderful things that you did when you walked the earth and that you continue to do through the power of the Spirit, which inhabits our hearts, given to us in baptism and in the sacraments. We open our ears and our minds and our hearts as we talk today a little bit about vowed religious life and ordained ministry, and some of the great things that are possible in that life. We praise and thank you for all kinds of vocations to married life and single life. And we ask you to bless those in special need, especially those hurt by natural disasters or any kind of sickness. For you live and reign forever and ever. Amen. Okay. All right. I will be then talking a little bit about my experience of a day in the life of a priest. One of the things that I really like about the life of a priest is that the life is varied, first of all. As you'll see, there are all kinds of things that I will be doing during a given day. I will be moving from one place to another. I won't just stay in one office and work there, but I will be doing all kinds of great things during the day. That's one of the neat things that I was able to figure out about priesthood. There's all kinds of things going on in a day, and some of them are quite different. Another thing, and that's true also can also be true for deacons and sisters. What's another name for a vowed religious? We talk about sisters. What's another name for a sister? Does anyone know? It begins with an N. Begins with an N. Yes, sir. Nun. A nun would be a sister that doesn't do a lot of stuff outside of her religious house or cloister. And then a brother. These are vowed religious people. We're all supposed to be religious, aren't we? Follow Jesus. But these people take vows to follow Jesus even more closely and to lead Jesus' people in his name as sisters and brothers. And of course, they don't get married, right? Just like a priest doesn't get married. A deacon, if they can only be married once after they've been ordained deacon. If their spouse dies, they can't be married again. In any event, so the goal for all these people in a special way, of course, is Jesus. They are pointing to Jesus by their uniform, for example, as something different. And by their life. Sisters and brothers, they live a poor life. They don't own things on their own, but they share things together. They don't have to worry about putting gas in the car or oil, changing the oil or something like that. Somebody will usually do that for them, but they don't have things on their own. They share and they live in a community. In any event, we all strive to represent Jesus in a special way. So here's a day in the life of my life, which is really neat. One of the first things I'll do, of course, is wake up. Wake up in the morning, right? That'll be, I'll put my feet outside on the floor and get up and wipe my eyes. And the first thing that happens is that my cats, especially Kit, will start to mew. She'll start to cry because she is hungry. Exactly. So very shortly after getting up, I will go feed Blackie and Kit. And then I'll grab a razor and I will start to shave, and I'll go outside while they're eating and I will get the newspaper, because I want to be on 3, 1, 2, 3 informed. I'll grab the newspaper from the driveway. I'll go open the cat door so they can get back in when they want to get back in, and I'll let them outside because they like to go outside. And I will then go into the kitchen. I will take a bowl and I will pour some cereal. What kind of cereal? Okay, sixth grade. Cheerios. I'll pour some Cheerios in a bowl and I will put some milk in there, and then I will start to eat my Cheerios, maybe a hard-boiled egg, and I will read the so that I can be
informed,
so that I know what to somewhere in the world. That helps me to know what's going on in the world so I know what to pray for, what contentions and what needs prayer in our world. So those are some of the first things that I'll do when I get up. And then I'll get cleaned up, squared away, and I will go to St. Joseph Chapel and I will pray. Now there's a couple of different ways. Of course, you know already that there are as many ways to pray as a Catholic Christian as there are flavors of ice cream. Cereal too, maybe. So there's lots and lots of ways to pray in the church. And you've learned some of those here in Incarnation School, I'm sure, and lots of neat ways of doing that. One of the things that I'll especially do as a priest is to pray, though the I is kind of silent here, a breviary. Say the word breviary on 3. 1, 2, 3. Breviary. A breviary is a book. It changes with the seasons. It's kind of a thick book. You probably won't see me walking around with it because I keep a copy in the chapel, in the office, and over at the house, because otherwise I'll forget it and lose it. But a breviary is also called the Liturgy of the Hours. And that's that hours we talk about during the day. We'll pray the liturgy, the breviary, we'll pray that 4 times a day to make the day holy. And the breviary is especially has the Psalms in it. How many Psalms are there? Does anyone remember how many Psalms there are? Yes? 150. 150, very good. Those 150 Psalms will be spread out over 4 weeks. So in 4 weeks' time, praying 4 times a day, we'll pray all 150 Psalms. Also, during my prayer in chapel, I will do some spiritual reading, maybe a reading from a saint, or perhaps a book, a modern-day book about the priesthood or about some part of church life. So there's a quiet time then in my day. Usually it's in the morning because that's the best time to make that happen. Otherwise things get busy and then you can't make time for that. You've got too many things going. All right, so that's the second thing that will happen to pray. Now, I put a 2.5 on here, you see, because I forgot to put that up here. All right? The 2.5 would be to preside or to lead in prayer, in other words, the Mass, right? Now, leading at church is, and part of what happens, of course, when we preside and lead at prayer is to preach the Word during the homily. Now, raise your hand if you were on a roller coaster this summer. Raise your hand if you were on a roller coaster this summer. Okay, put your arms down, please. Somebody tell me, give me one word to describe what it's like being on a roller coaster. Give me one word that describes what it's like to be on a roller coaster. Yes, sir?
Thrilling.
Thrilling. Did I talk about this with you already? 6th grade? It is, bless you. It is thrilling. And that's exciting, right? That's fun. Being thrilled. However, being on a roller coaster is also something else. Yes?
Scary.
It is. How about the word terrifying? I would say so. So, preaching, 6th grade. Thanks to 6th graders who are paying attention. You're doing a great job. Thanks. Keep your and help. Thanks for not talking to your neighbor. Preaching is both thrilling and terrifying at the same time, just like being on a roller coaster. And that is something, of course, that I'll do during the Mass, during presiding. And so what you got to do is try to come up with something creative, something interesting, and have a focus for that preaching. And that's a big challenge. So usually the day before, around maybe noontime if possible, I'll look at the scriptures for tomorrow and start to get some ideas about what to preach about for tomorrow's Mass. And then another thing that I'll do during the course of a week is in the office, I will study. So I'll go over to the office. One of the things I'll do there, or maybe over at the house too, is I will study the Sunday scriptures. I'll do that every day of the week. I'll read those at least once, and I'll start to wonder about Sunday's preaching. So we got to keep some balls in the air, right? When you're juggling, you got to keep some balls in the air. Just like anybody with a busy life, we've got balls in the air that we got to figure out and prepare for and catch at different times during the day. So in the office, I will also do things like that you do. I'll write. How long is this essay, if you choose the essay, how long does it have to be?
250 to 400 words.
Good, in unison, in stereo, that's awesome. 250 to 400 words. And what I'll do every week in the bulletin, you can get a bulletin and look at that yourself, ask Mom or Dad to see the bulletin and find out where Father Pat wrote. And I'll write about 800 words every week in the bulletin. I'll do that on Monday or Tuesday. For example, I did it actually last night, and I finished that this morning, so I got that in even before it was due. So writing is a part of what I'll do. I like to write. It's fun. And then I'll maybe return calls. Maybe somebody will come in and for a meeting, they'll just pop in there. As happened this morning, 2 different people came in unannounced and had a question or wanted to talk about something. All right. So any questions about some of these things so far? Being informed, praying, working in the office, and presiding and preaching. Yes, sir.
What time would you get up on a normal day?
In a normal day, I will get up at either 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., depending on when I have the first Mass. Whether I have, of course, there are 2 Masses here at Incarnation. What are the times of those 2 morning Masses on the weekdays? Yes, ma'am.
7 and 9.
You are close. 6:30 and 8:30, except on Friday when we have Mass at 9 for the students at Incarnation. So 6:30. Yes, ma'am. Question?
What do you preach a Mass every day?
Yes. Today I preached so far 3 times. 2 at Mass, the regular Masses, it was the same scriptures, and then today I also had a funeral. That's why I'm dressed up. We'll talk about that in a second. So yes. And what was the question over here? Mass. Okay. Right. What time do I rise? It depends on whether I have the 6:30 Mass or the 8:30 Mass. If I have the 8:30, I get to sleep in an extra hour. So then I'll be over there praying at that time. All right. Good question. Yes, sir.
Do you wear that stuff for
I wear, these are my pajamas, yes. No. A black uniform. Now the sisters used to wear what's called a habit, right? It's called a habit, and distinctive dress, in other words, or special dress. So a priest usually wears a collar, whether it's a Roman collar like this, or just one with a little white tab there. That's our uniform, and that is what we'll wear, especially when we're on duty. But no, I don't like to wear. I like to wear my coveralls with paint on them, for example, or shorts in the summer or something like that. So, or old clothes or jeans. I kind of prefer to be in that, but I know that I've got to be in uniform too, just like the students at Incarnation School, right? I love my uniform as much as you love yours.
Oh, wait.
That means that you absolutely.
6th grade. 6th graders, you're doing good. Let's don't talk to our neighbor, please. One of the neat things about my uniform is that when people see my uniform, hopefully they think of Jesus, right. I represent 6th grade. I represent Jesus in a special way. And it is awesome because when I go visit people in a hospital or when I see people, they know generally that I represent Jesus. And of course, anybody would be happy to see Jesus and joyful in that way. And what could be better than we all represent Jesus just by our baptism, right? We are priests, prophets, and kings in our baptism, and we all represent Jesus by our actions then. However, as a priest, I get to represent him in a special way, which is really awesome. So when people see my uniform, hopefully they're thinking of Jesus and how much Jesus loves them, and I get to be that love for them and that presence. Good point there. Yes, sir.
If you go on vacation, do you still have to wear that?
No, I don't wear that on vacation. Or like when I'm down in the garage tinkering or out in the yard doing something. So yes, and sometimes I won't have uniform uniform on if there's an emergency, and I don't want to take time to go change clothes, for example. Yes? Okay, I could well have done that. What's your grandma's name? Okay, what's your, I might not know her last name. Okay, yes. So that's all something I'll do after I finish here is I will go to Kettering Hospital and I will be the chaplain for Kettering Hospital. Most of the patients I visit will not be from Incarnation, but I do that for a service to the hospital. But then if I get called to the hospital for an Incarnation parishioner, then I'll go. So yeah, that's something that I'll do. That's where I have hospital here. So I'll visit the sick and celebrate a sacrament, right? Anointing the sick. Let's see. So what are some other sacraments that I'll do? A sacrament is equal to saying Jesus. In all the sacraments, a part of who Jesus is present. What are some other sacraments? Or this would also be big events in people's lives. So give me another sacrament real quick here. Yes, ma'am. Okay, matrimony. Marriage. This past weekend I had a wedding. I presided a wedding. So that's a fun and wonderful time as people begin their lives together. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. I will meet with a couple preparing for marriage. Right? We'll meet a number of times over the course of the year to help them prepare for matrimony. Jesus is present in matrimony and the husband and wife. And that they are being Jesus for each other, and together they are Jesus for all of us in the church in a special way. How about another sacrament? Yes, sir?
Baptism.
Baptisms, right? Babies. Beginning their life in Jesus. That's a joyful event in people's lives that I get to be a part of. Yes, sir, over by the
Holy
Eucharist, right? Jesus, the body of? Jesus, right. All the sacraments, the best way to define a sacrament is just to say it's Jesus. Jesus' whole life is here. Jesus is present in the sacrament of matrimony. And what other sacraments? Like confession, right? That's another great opportunity to be Jesus. And that's one of the things he did primarily every day is forgive people. Forgive people of their sins. Right. All right. So those are big events in people's lives that I get to share in. Those are cool. All right. Other considerations here. Yes?
What do you mean by emergency?
What do I mean by emergency? If someone is dying or if someone is in an accident and they're maybe in danger of dying, that would be the most common emergency that would be present. And so we would celebrate the sacrament of the sick, right? Anointing of the sick. There it is right below there. So the anointing of the sick, that would be in an emergency. Right, good question. Yes, sir?
Would you ever go visit prison or county jails?
Yes. Sometimes there's usually a chaplain assigned there. Also, if a parishioner were to be incarcerated, then that would be something that we would do. Yes, I've been in a number of jails, mainly county jails. Yep, they got big, thick doors and all kinds of things. You gotta empty your pockets. All right, anything else? Okay, let's continue then. So, visiting the hospital, that's something that I'll do this afternoon. So we see how varied that life is. As well, guess what? I get to teach. I get to come into our Incarnation School. Maybe it'll be teaching those people that are thinking about becoming Catholic, perhaps, an RCIA. You know what that stands for, right? RCIA, what does that stand for? Who can get that? The Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults. So that is for adults who are thinking about becoming Catholic. Had a gentleman come in this morning and he was wondering about that. He's a Baptist person and he's thinking about becoming Catholic. Good. All right. So what else about about being a priest? Again, as I said this morning, I'll meet with people at different times. It might be people, leaders in the parish. It might be meeting with staff members, right, to help lead the parish. And so that's another thing that I'll do during the course of a day. Yes?
So, how often do you go to school?
How often do I change assignments? You mean? Okay. A priest is pastor for 6 years plus 6 years generally. They can be pastor for 12 years. Although in my last pastorate I was pastor for 16 years. That's for a pastor. For an associate pastor, which is, who is our associate pastor? Father Smith. He can be at a parish for 3 years before he goes to his next assignment. Maybe an extra one depending on how things go. I think Father Brian was here for 4 years. Sometimes it can vary by one. So that's something that's interesting. A good question. Yes?
How long was Father Stretch?
Stretch was here about 16 or 18 years, I think. 16, 17, something like that. Yes?
About what time would you go to bed?
I try to go to bed sometime between 9 and 11. It's interesting right now, my mother, who's 84, she fell and she broke her arm up here, and so she needs help being cared for, so my brothers and sisters were caring for her. Guess when I get to care for her? At night, right. So I'll commute to Hamilton, I'll go to Hamilton and care for her. Mom goes to bed real early, about 9 o'clock, so it's been nice being home with her for the past week, and I'll go back tonight, for example. She goes to bed so early, so I do too, so I can get up with her when she needs to use the washroom in the middle of the night, or if she has a problem. Then, but I've been getting great sleep since I've been going to bed at 9 o'clock every night. That's awesome. All right, so, yeah, yes.
How long do you have to go to school to be a priest?
How long do you have to go to school to be a priest, or even a sister or a brother? Most of those positions, maybe not all the time a brother, require 4 years of college. Okay, so 4 years of college. And then to be a priest and to do a lot of things that a sister would do, it's going to be a number of years after that. 5 more years of what's called seminary. I got it written over there already. So that would be after college, and that would be 5 years. Sometimes it might take a few more years than that, depending on what you studied in college. So that would be, and interestingly, that's what I did after 4 years. I went to a college seminary, and I taught then for 4 years. In between, I was a teacher. That was one of the things I wanted to be, was a teacher. Right? Okay. Yes, sir.
What do you do in your free time to study?
Okay, well, in my free time, I don't necessarily pray a lot in my free time. I get paid to pray, right? Yeah. So that's why I take it so seriously. But in my free time, I like to like change oil in the car or do some kind of a project maybe in the garage. I enjoy a little bit of gardening outside. One of the things that I like to do in my spare time is to swing on a swing. Does anyone enjoy swinging? Sixth grade. Okay, so most swings are too small for adults. I don't know if you've noticed that. You're starting to get bigger, right? And also I'm tired of pushing little kids off of swings.
Wait, off?
No. So what I did, I built a swing in the back of the rectory. You probably haven't seen it. And I painted it so it wouldn't be easily seen. But I love the swing. It's about 18 foot tall. And so that's one of the things I enjoy doing is swinging and swinging. I enjoy camping and fishing. So those are kind of things, little projects, to make something or do something. Like I built that swing, or what was needed and put that together. So those are some of the things that I enjoy doing in my spare time. Yes. Where do I normally go camping? Actually, I have a little camper at a campground all year round. It's up in Wapakoneta, Ohio, and it's called Glacier Hills Lakes. So it's a campground where people are there all year round, most of them. Maybe you've never seen something like that, but it's a neat place that I go on my day off, which is Wednesday is my day off. Yes?
Do you ever have like big things where you have to go to other states or something?
Well, yeah, sometimes there's training that might happen, or if I'm visiting family. My niece lives in Michigan, so I'll go to see her and stay with her for a few days every now and then. Good? Yes, sir.
Do you live in a normal house?
Well, I don't know. Is a normal house got cats in it and maybe dirtier than it should be, or something?
Yeah.
So yes, I live. Who knows where I live? Father Smith and I. Yeah, we live not right over from school here, but the one that's toward 48 or toward Main Street. The one on the left as you come in that side drive. As you go in a bus, if you ride a bus, it would be the house on the right there. Yeah, that's where we live. So it's like a regular house. And where I lived for 16 years as pastor was it used to be an old funeral home, but it's a rectory now. Anyway, good. Other questions? Yes.
Like, could you be assigned to be like at a hospital or something, or are there different kinds of priests?
There are different roles as a priest. A priest could be a chaplain at a hospital, in the military, something like that, aboard ship, for example. I was a Navy chaplain for a time, for about 4 years. So yes, there are other assignments. A chaplain might have to work at the archdiocese in the marriage tribunal, or in some other office of the archdiocese that helps lead the archdiocese. Yeah. Yes.
This is a little off topic, but what would have happened if Mary said no?
Yeah, that's a question we have in our. I don't know. What do you think? What are some options that God would have had? Options are always a good thing to think of if you're going to live a wise life, right? Because most of the time we got our mind set on one possibility, right? And if that doesn't happen, how do we feel?
Sad.
Yeah, sad, or even worse, angry, right? But most times in life, if we can think of options, there are usually options and a range, a spectrum of things there. And if we choose one of those, that can be a wise way to do it. So what would God have done if Mary would have said no? Ask someone else. Absolutely. That's for sure. Yes. Okay, hang on to that question. Jot it down there. Let's stick with Mary for a second, since that's one of the questions in the box. What if Mary would have said no? Yes.
But wouldn't God know what she was going to say?
That's a good question too. Wouldn't have God have known and chosen somebody? You know how when you have something you want to do, and you know what mom's going to say, and you think you know what dad's going to say. If one of them is going to say yes, do you think you ask them? Yeah, I think so. And that's a good question that God might have known beforehand. Was Mary free if God knew beforehand? Probably. Just because God knew her so well, she could have said no, but God knew, especially because she was so close to God and wanted to do God's will, that she would say yes, even though it was scary and fearful. That's a good point. What are we doing right now when we talk about those kind of things? We're talking about theology, right? The study of God. And we can never be 100% certain of the answers there. Those are good questions to ask those. So that's your thinking 6th grade. That's wonderful. All right. Question?
If you weren't a priest, what would you be?
If I wasn't a priest, what would I be? Everybody take a moment. Think to yourself, what did I want to do when I was 8 years old? Think of that to yourself in silence. Think back. Some people might think what they wanted to be was stupid, but I would say rethink that. I think what we wanted to be when we were 8 years old is very, very important and key, even if it seems like it was something that was silly. Can somebody volunteer what they wanted to be that was silly when they were 8 years old? Yes, sir.
I want to work at McDonald's.
Okay. You know, I did too. That's not so silly, is it?
Well, I wanted to work
When you be very clear, hear me clap once.
Yeah.
Hear me clap twice. Redirect your attention, please.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, sixth grade, and it's tough to do this because we've been in here a while. But anyway, that's not so silly. I want something silly. I want to hear something silly that somebody wanted to be. Yes, sir?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I also know what you want to be when you're 8 years old. You want to be a policeman.
Yeah, how did I tell you that? Yeah. A motor officer. I also wanted to teach and to be married and to be a priest. We'll get back to those in a second. Give me something silly though. Something silly that you wanted to be. Yes, ma'am.
I want to be a princess.
You wanted to be a princess. Sixth grade. Listen, let's think about this for a second. What attracted you to being a princess?
I don't know. I'm an age.
Well, I can think of some things. Although I wouldn't want to be a princess, I can think of some things.
You can marry a prince.
Let's talk about that for a second. What would attract a gal to wanting to be a princess? Do you think? Yes.
TV shows.
All right, because they wear cool clothes, right? You get a tiara with diamonds in it, or cut glass, and you get to wear a foofy dress, right? What else? Sixth grade, you're doing good. What else? Yes, ma'am.
You would basically get to do whatever you wanted.
Yeah. People would be waiting on a princess, right? And you'd probably get pretty much anything you wanted. That's another good reason. What else might be a reason to be a princess? Yes?
You can like dress up and stuff.
Can dress up. So, guess what? I don't think anybody in here is going to be a princess, are they?
Unless you did.
Sixth grade. Sixth grade. But guess what? If you marry the right guy, he might treat you like a princess, right? Or
Can I be a princess?
what else? Sixth grade. Come on, you can do this. Sixth grade. We're doing good. All right. Sixth grade. What else? If you maybe the dress thing, how about if you become a dress designer? Would you get to wear, or maybe a model? You'd be able to design dresses and maybe wear them, something like that. If you work hard at whatever job you have, you might be able to have some nice dresses. So there's all kinds of things that connect to what you wanted to be when you were 8 years old that I think you might end up being. So for me, for example, one of the things I wanted to be was a motorcycle policeman, right? Did we talk about this in class?
Yeah, like
Yeah. What are a couple of things that a policeman does? They
help.
let me list them real quick. How much time do we have there?
We have about 5 minutes.
Okay. So a policeman enforces law. Okay. A policeman is in a position of authority. A policeman protects people from
Naughty people.
a policeman protects people from evil.
Bad guys.
And then a policeman wears a cool. All right, sixth grade. Guess what I do as a priest?
All of those things.
I protect people. I enforce the church law. I'm in a position of authority. I protect people, and I wear a cool uniform. So I didn't become a motor officer, did I? But I'm doing this similar. So that's why I think what you wanted to do when you were, because that was one of the things that I wanted to do as a policeman. I also wanted to be a priest when I was 8 years old. Good. So don't dismiss what you wanted to be when you were 8 years old. Yes, sir.
Are you saying I'm going to be a Jedi when I grow up?
You might be a Jedi of some sort, or you might be. What's fun about being a Jedi?
You get to have a laser sword and you can slice and dice and stuff.
All right. Well, you can do that on Halloween. All right. Okay, we're doing good. Two last questions here. Try to choose someone that we haven't chosen so far. Yes, sir.
When I was 8 years old, I kind of wanted to be God and make the world.
Okay. Well, part of what we do by our work is to create things and to keep the world going. So actually, you're saying you want to be a hard worker. You'll probably do that in some way, and you'll contribute to creation and in the world. All right. Be an architect, exactly. The gentleman that died today, Mr. John Carr, he was an architect, and that was a way he connected with God because he created things and helped things to come out all right. All right. So, 6th grade, you're thinking great things. Keep that up, and wonder about whether you might be called to be a priest or a deacon or a sister or a brother. It's a great life. It's a lot of fun. And it is one of the most essential things because it is focusing on this guy here. All right, we good with time then, we think? Okay. Thanks for your attendance, 6th graders, and have a good rest of the day.
What do we say to Father
Thank you.